Lord of the Rings Online is the only Middle-earth based game which really lets you explore Tolkien's world whilst keeping entirely within the spirit of the books. In this series I will be exploring the works of Tolkien's Middle-earth, its regions, characters and histories as I quest through the Lord of the Rings Online game. In this episode, the High Elf hunter Thete will explore the Hobbit lands known as the Shire and investigate the characteristics of this charming but reclusive race of halflings. Hobbits tend to live longer than men, with an expected lifespan of approximately 100 years. As well as living longer, hobbits tend to take longer to mature as well. A hobbit comes of age at 33, considerably later than for men. Hobbits are often called halflings by other races due to their small stature of usually no more than 4 feet and usually a bit less. Hobbits have slightly pointed ears and thick hair on their feet. Their soles are leathery and so hobbits have no need of shoes or boots. Although hobbits are not given to athleticism, they are very nimble and can move around very quietly indeed, traits that Mr. Bilbo Baggins used to great effect in the events leading up to the reclamation of the Lonely Mountain and the Battle of the Five Armies. It is unknown when or where hobbits first came into being. When first discovered by the race of men, they were living near the Anduin River in a wilderland valley between Mirkwood and the Misty Mountains. They lived near the ancestors of the Rohirrim, and indeed the word hobbit comes from the Rohirric meaning hole builder. These days relatively few hobbits live in what could be termed a hole, i.e. a home built into a hillside and consisting of a tunnel or tunnels. It is generally the preserve of the poor, as well as the wealthy, whose homes are a mix of the traditional with modern comfort. Bag End in Hobbiton being a fine example. Traditionally there were 3 types of hobbits: Stores, Harfoots and Fallowhides. Stores remained near the river and tended to be broader than other hobbits, with larger hands and feet. They were the most reluctant to leave the Anduin, being at home as river folk. The most infamous of their kind is Smeagol. The Harfoots were more common and tended to be shorter, and with darker skin than the other hobbits. The Harfoots tended to live nearer the mountains and made good relations with the dwarves. Finally, the Fallowhides were taller and fairer than other hobbits, but also much less common. They preferred woodland areas and hunting to farming. They maintained good relations with the elves and were keen on writing and song. Over time, the distinction between the different types of hobbit became less pronounced as they moved towards the area we now know as the Shire during the Third Age, but more of that in the next episode. Hobbits are essentially a peaceful folk, and although they still maintain offices of great importance with the original design of protecting the Shire and maintaining a defensive force, these are now largely ceremonial roles for the sake of tradition. For example, Paladin, father of Peregrine Took, is Thane of Buckland, the closest part of the Shire to Bree. The capital, as it were, of the Shire may be considered the town of Michel Delving, on the western border of the Shire. The most important hobbit of Michel Delving, and by extension of the Shire, would be the Mayor. He has responsibility for maintaining the post, as well as the sheriffs, who keep order in Hobbit lands. Due to their strong desire for a peaceful existence, hobbits have a particular disregard for anyone wanting to explore or have adventures, even though they enjoy telling stories of folk who have done just that. Adventure is a dirty word in the Shire, and life is expected to continue from generation to generation without any changes or innovations upsetting the apple cart. Adventures are meant only for stories shared around a nice warm hearth with mugs of ale, not something that decent hobbits actually take part in. Although it is many generations since the hobbits are recorded to have gone to war, they are excellent archers. In fact, they are a fine shot with any missile, be it bow and arrow, sling and shot, or simply a pebble picked up from the ground. Though this may have more to do with hunting than training for battle, however, as their few military exploits are generally believed to be exaggerated. Hobbits are extremely fond of food and drink and put on a great many parties as an excuse to overindulge. They are also keen exchangers of gifts, so much so that many gifts are simply passed around and never really put to practical use. These become known as mathams. For hobbits it is the custom to give presents on their birthday rather than receive them. After some considerable time, hobbits may donate these ever-cycling unwanted gifts to the Matham House, a sort of hobbit museum. Hobbits also have a fondness for the growing and smoking of pipeweed, as well as for blowing smoke rings. Their love of farming ties in directly with their love of food, drink and smoking, and skilled farmers are highly respected within Hobbit Society. Hobbits have an unusual way of dividing the years, with a new year always beginning on a Saturday and ending on a Friday. There are the usual 12 months, though these are divided into exactly 30 days. But there are 5 days which are special and not part of any month at all, with a 6th being added every 4th year. The sorts of quests a hobbit might send you on would likely take the form of securing their farmland and livestock, keeping roads and bridges clear for the post, and inspecting the produce for an upcoming celebration, of which there are many in the calendar. And that's my report on the Hobbits of the Shire. I hope you enjoyed this entry. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share for further content. The next entry will be on the founding of the Shire. So until next time, I'll see you later.